Even now, I still can't quite believe that I'm actually finally going to be able to say this in a Doctor Who product review. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive for 2008 Doctor Who action figure 2-pack that is the jewel in the crown of Doctor Who action figure collecting, and it is of course the Time Crash set featuring the 10th Doctor as played by David Tennant alongside the 5th Doctor as played by Peter Davison, of course in celebration of the Children in Need 2008 minisode story written by Stephen Moffat that is of course entitled Time Crash. I've actually got it. Finally, this is a product that I can remember very, very well. I walked into Forbidden Planet when I was 8 years old, and I seen this product sat on the shelf, and I didn't have enough pocket money for it. At the time, £24.99 was an incredibly pricey price tag for a Doctor Who action figure product. Little did I know that several years later, I will be purchasing products of a recommended retail much higher than that. And today, I finally get to go back and actually review a product that I finally get to add to my collection, and one of which that my parents found for me on eBay just recently for Christmas, and I'm incredibly thankful to finally have this product because 8-year-old me, in fact scratch that, 19-year-old me is incredibly excited to finally own this product after so many years of wanting it in the collection. It is of course a rather rare piece of Doctor Who merchandise. It is limited edition to 3000, and there was also an additional 100 released uniquely in the UK without the San Diego Comic-Con logo, and also without the top trump card on the inside as well. So yeah, this is an incredibly exciting review, and one of which that I never expected to be doing. Now this set in fact marks a rather monumental moment in the classic series Doctor Who 5-inch action figure line, because it is essentially the birth of the classic line of action figures, because the 5th Doctor as seen in this set was in fact released around 2 months or so prior to the release of the first action figures as a part of the classic series, released in Wave 1 with the collect and build K1 robots. So a lot of people understandably wanted to get their hands on this product to actually get the first ever classic action figure of a Doctor to add to their collections. So taking a look at the packaging that this product comes in, it is really nice to actually finally see this product actually in the box, especially in this rather old design that we did of course see around 2008 into 2009 when we got the Series 4 action figures. It is completely made in plastic, and then we of course have the paper and card inserts on the inside, which is a rather nice way to display the figures. As you can see, they are in this rather nice TARDIS design in the very middle, and I'm just going to get it out the way and say immediately that I'm not actually going to be taking these figures out of the box. I'm not a maniac, and I'm not going to do that because it will ruin the value completely, and I'm in fact going to try my best to review them whilst keeping them in the actual box by getting very close with the camera. Hopefully it'll work, and at the end of the day these figures aren't actually too different from some of the other releases that we got later on in the line anyway. So at the very top of the box you do of course get the San Diego Comic-Con logo along with 2008 exclusive, the American safety sticker 5+ with highly detailed posable action figures, along with a free Doctor Who top trump card sticker in there as well. In the very middle of the back of the packaging we do of course get the Comic-Con sticker that states that this is unit 115 out of 3000. And there is also the top trump card insert at the very back, along with the green backdrop that was of course used on all of the Series 3 action figure releases. On the title card at the bottom we do of course get a rather nice promotional image featuring the 5th Doctor and the 10th Doctor from the Time Crash minisode story, along with the titling of the product being Time Crash at the very bottom. Flipping the packaging around to the back, once again we get a standard hexagonal layout featuring the Doctor Who logo at the very top, featuring a still from the episode itself of the 5th Doctor and 10th Doctor having a little conversation. Another hexagon that states that this is an exclusive Comic-Con 2008 figure set, along with a little write-up about the minisode itself and a little bit of information about both the 10th Doctor and 5th Doctor. And to finish off we have some company information at the bottom stating that this is both a Underground Toys and Character Options release. And that is really it for the packaging itself. Overall a rather nice presentation. And now moving on to the two figures on the inside. As I was saying a little bit earlier, the two variants of Doctors in this set are in fact not necessarily the most standout releases in the world. If anything, they are two figures that are pre-existing sculpts that just have slight colour alterations in order to make them a little bit similar to what is seen in the actual story. So starting off with the 10th Doctor action figure, to be honest, if you have collected Doctor Who action figures in the past, you will know exactly what this figure entails, because it is pretty much your standard 10th Doctor sculpt, just with a few colour alterations, and there isn't particularly anything too new or exciting. The likeness itself to David Tennant is of course rather nice, and the paint apps on this are also rather crisp and clear. At the very top we do of course get the standard head sculpt of the hair flopping down the face that has been rather nicely painted with a dark brown colour. There isn't really any highlights on this or anything like that, which is a little bit of a shame, but is something that you do come to expect from the standard 10th Doctor figures. The face itself has once again been rather nicely painted, with the eyebrows rather nicely represented by a sliver of paint, as well as the pupils and the eye whites rather nicely painted. And then of course at the bottom of the face we do also get the sculpting and the paint apps of the lips, which do indeed look rather natural and clear. Something that I did notice with the majority of 10th Doctor figures is I think it would have been nice to maybe have a little bit of stubble underneath the actual chin, or at least a little bit of 5 o'clock shadow, just to bring out some of the details of the face a little bit more, or even the structure of the jawline, as David Tennant did tend to have a little bit of a stubble throughout the majority of his episodes as the Doctor. And now moving down to the costume itself, once again nothing really too much going on here, because it is pretty much the same sculpt once again to every other 10th Doctor figure, therefore it is that rather slim suit that we've all seen many times before. This time round, due to it being a 10th Doctor technically from series 3, of course the suit is not a brown colour, instead this time round it is in fact a rather nice blue colour that has once again been brought out rather well by using a brown pinstripe over the top that has been rather neatly applied to the sculpt. As for the actual sculpt itself, this has once again got a number of creases running around the sides, as well as 2 pockets at the very bottom, as well as 1 at the top, along with the lapels of the jacket itself clearly sculpted there. The shirt in between the jacket has this time round in fact been painted a rather nice brown or burgundy colour, and a similar paint application does also apply to the tie in the very middle. Once again this is exactly the same sculpt to usual, however this paint application variation is in fact the most major difference on this action figure, and has remained the most exclusive element of this product since its release, and we've not seen any paint application like this since. And of course this is accurate to what is seen in the actual Time Crash episode, so it is nice to have another variation of the 10th Doctor, even if it is a very minor little change. As for the bottom of the suit, we do of course have the continuation of that dark blue design along with the brown pinstripe onto the trousers, which is once again exactly the same sculpt to usual, and we've all seen it many times before. In fact, just to make this review a little bit easier, the 10th Doctor in the Time Crash set is in fact pretty much exactly the same to this Series 4 10th Doctor here, as the pinstripe design on the suit is in fact once again exactly the same dark blue, along with the brown design there in the very middle, and that only difference is in fact that shirt colour in the very middle, that on this release is of course a light blue colour, as opposed to this brown. And now moving on to the second figure in the set, it is of course the 5th Doctor, arguably the main attraction and the reason why this set was so popular in the first place, in order for it to come incredibly rare, and that of the fact that it was of course a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And once again, much like the 10th Doctor figure, I can't even lie and say that this variant is in fact incredibly exciting, because it's not. It's pretty much exactly the same sculpt to all of the other 5th Doctor figures that we've seen in the classic series, some of which are a lot more common than the figure on the inside of this box. However, the sheer fact that it is a part of the Time Crash set, and the fact that it is actually boxed, and the fact that it's limited edition to 3000 is kind of the main reason why this set has a lot of value behind it, and it's also kind of the main reason why I wouldn't want to take it out of the box in the first place, because when on the shelf, these figures won't in fact stand out as being really any different from those other releases. The likeness to Peter Davison as the 5th Doctor is once again rather nice, and does feature a lot of sharp paint apps, and you can quite obviously tell what incarnation of the Doctor it is meant to be. Of course, much like the 10th Doctor, we do have the natural paint apps of the lip set at the very bottom, and the sculpt itself is also rather nice. And I do also like the really sharp details of the eyes there as well that have been really nicely recreated by using the white paint apps alongside the black of the iris. The hair is in fact a little bit more interesting to that of the 10th Doctor release. As you can see, there is in fact a number of different shades that have been used on this. We do have a darker tone underneath, and then we do also have a yellow wash that has been applied over the top in order to give it more depth and to make it look like the texture and colour of Peter Davison's actual hair from within the series. Of course, in the actual episode, Davison does have a receding hairline, and the sculpt of his actual face is of the young 5th Doctor and not of the 50-plus-year-old Peter Davison, which, yes, a few people may be a little bit annoyed by that, but also at the same time, I don't mind too much, because at the end of the day, this is what the 5th Doctor was meant to look like in the actual story, but of course doesn't, because naturally, humans age, and Peter Davison isn't as young as he used to be, but I still think that this figure does look rather nice, and it is great to have him alongside the 10th Doctor. Moving lower down the body to take a look at the costume, once again this is rather similar in fact to the first 5th Doctor that we did see in the original wave of classic action figures. However, the big noticeable difference is of course that this figure does include the celery, which was something that was once again exclusive to the figure in this set and is in fact one of the major selling points. However, a few years later, with the release of the 11 Doctors collector set and a lot of the other classic figures, we did in fact get a 5th Doctor with a celery in the end. Therefore, it kind of made this figure a little bit less important, but it is still nice that it is included on this piece. As you can see, we do have a number of paint apps on this to really nicely bring out the leaves of the celery as well as the stalk there at the very bottom. As for the shirt itself, this has just been painted in a white colour, and we do also have the highlights of the red underneath, as well as the question marks on the collar that have been rather nicely recreated, however are pretty much hidden by the jacket. The cricket jumper on the Time Crash set 5th Doctor once again seen a little bit of a revision, including a rather slight blue band there at the very top that wasn't present on the original Wave 1 5th Doctor. In fact, the Wave 1 version of the 5th Doctor did in fact see a red band at the very top as opposed to the blue as seen on the Time Crash version, which is in fact a little bit inaccurate from what was seen in the Time Crash story in the first place anyway, as the one as seen in the episode did seem to have a lot more thicker lines. As for the overcoat that the 5th Doctor wears in pretty much all of his stories, this is pretty much the same to all the other 5th Doctor coats, and we do of course have the red lining on the sides of this as well, which really nicely emphasises the collar, as well as the lines of the pockets and the cuffs of the jacket, which has once again been rather nicely painted, and is a little bit hit and miss on some of the later releases in the classic series line. And then finally, for the 5th Doctor action figure, we end off on the most exciting of all the paint applications in this set, and it is of course the slightly different trousers. And when I say that this is exciting, it's not particularly too exciting. It's kind of the major difference of this set, and it is the inclusion of these orange bands on the pinstripe of the trousers, which does in fact stand out quite a lot when compared to the other 5th Doctor releases, and especially compared to that of the original classic series Wave 1 5th Doctor, it is in fact rather neatly painted onto the actual design, which was something that wasn't really present on that original 5th Doctor from Wave 1, as the lines in the pinstripe did in fact seem rather messy. However, this version is a lot more precise and neat, and I do quite like it actually. And in fact, just to end off giving a little bit of a comparison to some of the other paint applications that we've seen on the 5th Doctor's trousers in the past, as you can see the one in the background there, it does of course have a lot more orange lines. This one is the Resurrection of the Daleks one, that is of course a lot more of a salmon pink, which is once again a rather sharp design and is in fact rather similar to the Time Crash set in its design, however is of course a orange colour as opposed to pink. And then here we have the Wave 1 version, which is also very similar to that as seen in the 11 Doctors set, which is once again using a green pinstripe along with a red, which is in fact rather different. As is very much the law with all of the 5-inch Doctor Who action figures of the different incarnations of the Doctor, of course both of the Doctors do come with their sonic screwdrivers. The 10th Doctor one is pretty much our standard design, and the paint apps on this version are in fact rather good and not as messy as some of those previous releases, and rather unusually the 5th Doctor does also come with a sonic screwdriver, even though it was of course absent for the majority of his episodes. This is still the standard sculpt and is very similar to that of the one as seen in classic figures Wave 1, along with the silver as well as the golden emitter there at the very top, along the red design on the very tip, which is once again rather nice and sharp. So overall, for the Doctor Who limited edition San Diego Comic-Con exclusive 2008 2-pack of the 10th Doctor and 5th Doctor as seen in the Children in Need mini-sode story Time Crash, this is quite honestly one of those products that I never expected to actually add to my collection. When this first came out when I was 8 years old, I was really intrigued by this set simply because it was two eras of the show colliding in action figure form. You had the 10th Doctor that I knew by that point and had seen many episodes from, and then you had this mysterious other incarnation of the Doctor, played by Peter Davison, that by this point I had never actually seen any episodes from. I didn't really know who he was as an incarnation of the Doctor, but I was really intrigued by this set. I was also very disappointed when I never got my hands on it, of course, after not having the money when I was younger. However, I am so grateful to finally be able to add this set to the collection, and the actual rarity aside and the fact that I'm never going to actually be opening this product, talking about the two actual figures on the inside of the box, really at the end of the day, they are nothing special. They are two sculpts that we have seen time and time again, just with some slightly different paint taps over the top. Of course, the 10th Doctor is in his blue suit with the burgundy shirt underneath, which is a new addition, and the paint taps on that figure are generally quite nice and sharp and do also look rather accurate to what is seen in the mini-sode story. As for the 5th Doctor, once again, a very similar situation, very similar to that of the first versions of the 5th Doctor that we've seen in the classic action figure series, along with the later releases that we've seen in the years to come. And I do generally think that the upgraded paint taps are quite nice and once again rather reminiscent to what is seen in the actual story, but other than that it's nothing special. Essentially it is a celery, a additional line on the cricket jumper and an orange stripe on the trousers. It's nothing big, it's not a great deal. However, at the same time, this set does of course mean a lot to collectors. It is the birth of the classic series of Doctor Who action figures and is a pivotal moment in Doctor Who action figure collecting, and for that reason I'm just really happy and proud to actually finally be able to add this to the collection alongside the black and white versions of the First Doctor and Dalek and the Cyberman with Second Doctor sets, which did of course come out a year after this release. So yeah, I'm really happy to own it after never thinking that I would. But as for the occasional collectors, of course the only place that you can buy this from now is third-party retailers, possibly on Amazon or eBay. It will of course be a lot more expensive to the normal recommended retail price of $24.99. However, for those collectors it is worth it. It is an important part of your collection and I do highly recommend picking it up if you do find a good price for it. But at the same time, for those occasional collectors, it's nothing too special. So thank you very much for watching my review of the SDCC 2008 exclusive of the 10th Doctor and 5th Doctor Time Crash set. I still can't quite get over that I've actually got this product. I'm so happy. I hope you have enjoyed this review, even though both of the action figures have of course remained in the box. I hope I've been able to give a closer look at the product and still show off some of the details. And I guess I hope you stay tuned for more reviews in the future from this channel, from Big Finish, from product reviews, and from many of the other things that I do of course cover on this channel and will be doing so throughout 2019. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this review. Have a nice day. I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.